Well, hello,
Mo,
Mr. Barfield. How are you today?
Mo, friend, how you doing?
Man, I'm just sitting in my back door, sitting here looking for some deer. Of course, the season's about to end, but yeah, we got a few hogs down this way and stuff, and so I'm just enjoying life at the moment. How about yourself?
I'm walking. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but there was a cow moving in my background. I'm looking down at the ground, and I'm thinking I've been going over there to a deer hunting spot and not seeing anything, but right here on my own pond bank, I'm seeing deer tracks, big ones. So I'm thinking I might have been going to the wrong spot.
Well, and some of that is true, because again, I have sit at this back door for the last 2 or 3 years, and I own, 80 acres or whatever it is, and my brother and mother own, the other 40, and I've been sitting here and watching the deer in the same places for every year. Now, a lot of them are does and little ones, and I just let them walk because that's your next generation, type thing. But I've seen so many feral hogs. That's one of the biggest things is eating up me seeing my dang deer is feral hogs. My cousin, he killed 2. Shot one, just left it laying. The other one, I'm pretty sure he gut shot and it went somewhere. But there's a massive one down in my creek. Again, I think it's part of Flat Creek. I could be wrong. I don't really know the name of the creek, but yeah, the hogs have actually caused a lot of these issues, But now I'm slowly seeing them come back in. So you're absolutely right. So you can sit at your back door and shoot the ones that you see, but, where's the sport in that? Now, when I want some deer meat, no, I'll tell you real quick, I'll tap one real fast, and I'll put it in my freezer, and then I will eat deer meat, and then I will let the pets walk. But, yeah, I've seen a couple of what we used to call a cow horn deer, and it's a huge spike type deer. It's, currently in the state I live in, there's a 3-point rule, and so you got one long horn on one side, and one is wide, but it's a big rack. It's a nice deer, but, yeah, let it grow a little bit. But now that goes back to being a sportsman, or do you want to just eat meat? Me personally, just to say this, now, I'll slaughter anything just to put some meat in my freezer. But then I can do the sport hunting, because, again, I like deer meat. I don't care about horns. You can't cook horns. My opinion on it.
I get you on that, and of course, talking about those hogs though, that's everywhere now. You don't even there's no season for hogs. You can kill a hog anytime one walks around you. You can kill it because they're feral now. These things are just everywhere. And but now I love eating pig. Pig is pork is my favorite thing to eat. But now I like beef too. I like both of those. Now I don't eat a lot of it, but it's not the majority of my diet. But now deer is a different kind of thing. That's a different kind of meat. They call it venison. If you're talking about the kind of meat it is, venison, and you can't really buy it on the market because it's mostly, it's mostly feral. It's what they call a wood goat. That's what a lot of people call them. But now,
it's considered wild game, and you can't sell that in a public meat market. Unlike,
okay.
Now I'm just going to
another thing that we've seen here. Another thing that we've seen this year is bears. But now bears don't really concern me. There's bears all around me. You can talk. I want you to talk about that in just a minute. But let me finish this. Now there's bears out here too. And this is the first year that I went and bought my hunting license, and it includes turkey and it tells you hogs are fair game. If you read the manual. But now bear, you have to call in that day and see if there's the right number because everything's been tracked. Everything you kill has been tracked. for sure. They're listening. There's folks out there. There's these cities have now, and so do the woods have the specifically woods that are monitored by the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. They have they can recognize a gunshot whenever it happens, so they can go out there and go to a specific area and kind of trace down things.
Yes.
So,
I mean, like when we used to just ride the back roads and with spotlight, no gun intended at all. We weren't going to kill anything. We just wanted to see the wildlife. Well, it became harassment of the wildlife. And yes, I recently had an interaction with a game warden, and but it wasn't because of me. But yeah, they do track those things. We would drive the back roads and just have a great time. And these days, yeah, there's cameras on these dirt roads. They can triangulate, the noises from 2 or 3 directions and go, we heard a shot from this area. Well, okay, well, as long as it's within 3 miles, yeah, they can absolutely do that. But now the black bear thing, I mean, I haven't seen many here. Now, I did younger, but I did have a source like I was driving down and black bears crossed the road, and I was like, those are some big SOBs, okay? I mean, male, female, they're massive, and I didn't want to tangle with them, so I was like,
well, they tell you, and this is a good advice for people, because they're becoming more predominant. I have game cameras around my property, and there's all around here. And of course, right across the road from me, less than 40 yards from my house, 2 nights ago, we saw a group of black bears come by. Now, black bears are not my concern, okay? I've dealt with them before out here. This close to the river, the Washita River, which is...
Yes, sir.
It's a very sizable river. You're going to come across them out here in Cooter and in Bell Branch both, which is 2 places I've lived out here. Now, a black bear, you can run them off, But if it's a brown bear, this is what we learned. You don't really see too many brown bears around here. But if it's a brown bear, you done got messed up. So, you want to see little black bears, a little honey bear is what we call them. These things, they run around here. They're kind of like an overgrown possum. They'll run hell from you if you get close to them. Like a little crazy, I don't know, monkey or some sort. I don't know what they are. They're a weird creature, man. Bears are not, they're not a dog. If you've never been around one, and I've actually stood in that little 20-yard radius of one many times on the riverbanks, like, oh, fuck. But then, they'll leave you the fuck alone. They'll mumble on off.
He's a honey bear. He's like Pooh and Trigger. Everybody talks about Pooh. Pooh is yellow in the cartoons, but that is kind of the black bear. Okay. I mean, if you give him a little sweets, he's the sweetest little animal you do. But don't shoot him away. I mean, you got to be strong and up front and go, carry your butt on over here. Go. You got to be a little bit loud if you see a black bear. Now, a brown bear, yeah. Go ahead. Please continue.
Well, I wanted you to talk about those hogs. Because, brown bear, but now the hogs, what do you do with those? I'm going to tell you right now, when I think of a hog, unless I got a gun in my hand, I use a 30-30. I think you use a bit bigger caliber than I do. But, I mean...
What's the 30 on 6? It's a 30 caliber, bullet, and it's just the year it was accepted. The 30-30 was a 30 caliber bullet accepted in the 30s. The 30-06 was a 30 caliber bullet adopted in 1906. I mean, that's some of where those numbers come from. But now I know there's different grain sizes, calipers. There's a lot more to it. But I looked into that recently. It's like, why are so many bullets named the same thing? And that's what I came up with. It was the adaptation. I have a Remington 742 Fieldmaster. They don't make them no more. It's got over and under sights. But that was the sniper rifle of the world for a long time. Then you had the lever action 30-30, which I've seen in that. Well, it's a 30 caliber bullet. There's not really a difference. It's just how is it worked and how is it built and when was it adopted as society.
And two things else I want to throw in here real quick, and then I want you to take it off again. It's how many. It's like, you know, the bullets I shoot are 150 grain. Now you may be shooting 180, which is a 30-06, which is a little bit more power behind it. And the other thing is, hold on. I'm thinking. I got to think for just a second. But, you know,
I mean, again, it's just a discussion of, you know, when we're talking about hunting, you know, I mean, this is one of those things that not many people do or can do. Again, I own my own land, so I can sit by my door with my rifle and whatever, because I'm on my property. You know, you have your property, but now is it zoned for hunting and, you know, this and this and this? I mean, there's so many things involved with it. So just a discussion of, I use a 300-yard rifle. That's what this 30-06 does. It was originally a sniper rifle built during the Vietnam era. I have a 7mm, which is, you know, my brother keeps it down there, and hey, they can use it because that's a 700-yard type rifle. When you get to discussing the powder charges and the sizes and the grains, you know, you got to go back to, okay, well, we're talking knockdown power. A 30-30 is one of the absolute best rounds you could ever use. Whether it's bolt action, automatic, or lever action. If you use a soft dose point, oh, that sucker will mushroom and tear a hole in a deer. And they mostly will just drop right there.
That's right.
When you start getting to the 7mm and the 30-06, again, if you're not using the right round, it runs, the 7mm especially, will just punch a hole. Well, they'll run. They don't even know they've been shot because it didn't have time to actually tear something up. They ran because, well, holy crap, that hurt. They ran, then went, I'm dead. And then they failed. No. I would rather a little bit of a shock treatment and they fall in their tracks. That's me, personally.
Well, I agree with that. But now there's a couple of things I want to throw here about that, you know,
Yeah, I was just giving you time to collect your words.
I want you to continue. But now I'm going to throw in a little bit of what I know. That 30-06, the way that it's set up, and that's a huge ass bullet. I mean, a 30-30 is meant, it's like a shotgun. It's a wood hunting gun, less than 100 yards. And you mentioned what the 30-06 for, and you're exactly right. But also, here's what you need to know also, what people don't understand, is that 30-06 is basically the same thing as an M60 machine gun. That's a loud, big motherfucker, okay? Whenever a 30-06 or an M60 is shooting at you, basically the same size cartridge, I mean, whoever's shooting that's going to get shot first, because that is a big ass gun. A 30-06 is a huge, because of the power involved in it, with the amount of ammunition it has behind it. Again, you know, like my 30-30, it's 150 grain. You know, it's you know, it'll take your ass out. It's a huge chunk of metal coming at you, and it will knock your ass down if you're a white-tailed deer or a human being. You come fuck with me. You know. Now, I'm not going to be, if you come to my house, I'm not going to be messing around with a 30-30. You know, in the woods with me sitting there in my blind, yes. But if you come to my house, I'm gonna shotgun your ass, and I'm gonna give you some buckshot, and you're not gonna be in good shape.
A shotgun blast is totally different than exactly what you're talking about. But no, truly, you know, you take a 45 caliber or a .5 millimeter Desert Eagle Magnum. that's a half an ounce of lead going your direction. The 9mm, hey, it's just 9mm of circumference. But now you can get metal points, soft nose. You can get those talons, those leaded ones. The grain weight goes back to the impact power. And that's a lot of what, we're talking about is when I'm deer hunting, I'm looking at knockdown, but I'm also talking about 50 to 75 yards plus when I'm deer hunting. Now, if you're talking about personnel, by all means, come up my house. It's going to be a shotgun, and it's going to have a pattern that will destroy you. But now, again, deer hunting, personal protection, every one of those things come into account with this. I think I normally load 185 grain is what I'd normally shoot. It gives me the distance, but it's a soft nose point with a copper core or copper wrapping, excuse me. It's a lead core. And, when it hits, of course, that lead mushrooms it out. And they normally drop or they don't. But, I make sure of my shots. 98% of the time, I try to be sure they drop. I've never had to actually trail a deer. You know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I do. Hold on. I remember, the first time I shot a 30-06, I was sitting up there on what was called Puke Hill. And I don't know, a lot of people won't know about it. You will. You may comment on it later if you want to. But me and my Uncle Red would sit up there, and he had a 30-06, and he always shot and through that thing what was called a hollow point. That's what they called them back then. They got different names for it now. But again, whenever that thing hit flesh or hit bone or whatever it hit, that front mushroomed up, because that point was hollow and everything moved back, kind of like an arrow, and it would just go straight through, and it would stop whatever there is. And I don't even know I don't know why you would have that application other than probably long range hunting. But now the story I want to tell you about is up on that Puke Hill. You had a 300-yard shot right there, and I have seen fellows sit up there, and there may be 20, 30 people up there, and everybody may be drinking, and the fucking radio may have been playing Hank Williams Jr., but there'd be 4 or 5 trucks lined up there across the road, and somebody come by and you'd have to move if they were approved to move. But you would sit up there and you would sit on that road, and there would be all these guns lined up across there, one on each side of the truck, and sometimes other ones leaned up, other places on the sides. But now somebody would go up every once in a while, and they would stand up there at the front, and of course there was always somebody up there keeping guard, because there was going to be a fucking deer going by there, specifically if there was some dogs running out there.
Well, that's when that was going on. But
let me finish my story. We'll come back to the deer lease here in a minute. But now I said we would sit up there, and I remember my Uncle Red giving me that 30-06, and he says, if you want to kill your deer, bump it right here. And one of them came out one day. He said, put it in the scope. I was like, holy fucking shit, because I'd done it. I'd shot targets there with those guys before. But I pulled that thing up there, and those scopes are a fucking bitch, man, because you got to fucking narrow it in. You got to shake that thing just right. And when you get it, you can't fucking hesitate. You got to pull the trigger. Unfortunately, that day, I fucked it up. And I knew I fucked it up. And I pulled it at the wrong time. The deer ran off. It was not a good thing. But also, because of the fact that, with killing animals, this is the thing for me. That's not the first time I pulled a gun up or down. I pulled that one down. I had another time I was out in the woods, and I was sitting there, and these dogs were running a deer, and I'd already killed a couple of deers in my life, and I was sitting there, and there was dogs running by, and a deer came by me, and just like you were saying, it was not quite up to the last one I killed was a 10-point with a 22-inch spread, and I was like, well, I'm not going to shoot this deer. But everybody wanted meat. And with my own standards, listen, and I'll let you have it. I shot that motherfucker in the air. And I let it go. and it fucked up the whole thing because the dogs went fucking crazy and all that kind of shit. But you know what? That deer wasn't big enough to kill him. In my opinion, it was a fucking spike, little bitty motherfucker. I'm not shooting it. You know. Anyway, you have it.
Oh, no. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I was just trying to interject me listening to you. Back during the times where when we were kids, dogs were rampant. I mean, you know, they ran dogs. Folks just sit on gravel roads just watching. That's not sportsmanlike. Not to me. I mean, you know, in terms of you're letting the dogs do the work. And I still remember, and to my horror of it now as I'm older, the last 3 dogs across the road got shot. Smell that sunshine. They would let dogs go, and the first 2 that crossed the road, they stayed alive. The last 3, they got shot. And I still remember that to this day. And that's horrible. And if anybody hears this, I will not testify against anybody, but that was the way it was, you know, in terms of dog hunting. Nowadays, it's gotten better. Now, so I understand what you're saying. You know, we used to go and sit on roads. They would have CBs, huge antennas. They go, oh, dogs cross on whatever road. You know, and then everybody would run around and I mean, you couldn't let anybody out on the dang gravel roads because of the trucks running back and forth, chasing the deer. These days, my little old property, this is the last little wooded place on here. The hogs are keeping them away, but, you know, hey, I've still got plenty of deer come through here. But now, it's my place. You know, or my mother's. Let me rephrase that so nobody gets upset. You know, but at the same time, I can claim it. You know, but as far as back then, you're right. Okay. So that's the way we were caught. It's the Pennington Hunting Club.
Hold on. Okay. Let's just jump back a little bit. So you're talking about a different point in time, and I agree. You know, of course, there was these times, like I said, not everybody took a shot, or if they did, they may have fucked it up on purpose. Okay, so I'm going to justify a little bit there. You know, nobody fucked with a doe if they came by unless they were hungry, like you were talking about a little bit ago. So we're not trying to judge no fucking body. I don't judge you. I don't anybody judge anybody. Everybody has their own way of doing it. It's kind of like fucking. Listen, so everybody has their own way of doing it. Somebody lick first, somebody fuck first, whatever they want to do. So there are some people who do the weird shit backwards. But anyway, so what I want to talk about is those deer leases. Before around 1985, around 1987, you didn't really have, you had places that people hunted, but it wasn't really confirmed or anything. But after that, you started seeing what's called the purple paint put up around all these deer leases, and it became marked off territory. You paid for it. You got these acres in this territory. And, of course, growing up, the deer lease I was in had I think it was 3,300 acres just right behind my house on our property, which was, at one time it was 120 and it got down a little bit smaller to 60, and now it's been divided amongst some other people, because it's all about hereditary shit. It gets divided as it goes. Your kids and my kids and their kids. And eventually, if people don't come together, it becomes a separate thing. You got to keep it together, But anyway, so back a long time ago in 85 to 87, man, I've been riding 4-wheelers and 3-wheelers and shit like that here lately. Investing in ATCs and ATVs and just remembering what it was like to be a kid and go off and do the things that I did. So I've been riding these. Used to back in those days before the deer lease, you could get on a 3-wheeler. And at the time, I had different ones. I had a couple of Honda 110s and a 185S. The 110 was my favorite thing. The 1982 Honda 110, that thing and we rode everywhere. Now, I had to rebuild the whole fucking thing 3 times in a year. But that thing went everywhere you could imagine. And that
now,
thing,
let me ask this just real quick. Did it
Yeah,
have the little low and high switch? You had to reach underneath the back tire and flip.
the low and high range. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you had that. And this was a time before they are now. This was whenever it was downshifts. So you would go down 4 shifts on that thing. But they're kind of like a Honda Ranger, though. They were geared like the first 2 were really low, even in high range. And the first and the second 2, specifically that last gear, was very high range. So you had a hell of a top end on it if you're patient enough to wait to get there. We clocked my 82 doing 45, and I've clocked these little Honda Rangers doing about close to the same. They're 350s. So it's just about how. And that's fucking dangerous as fuck. Whenever I think about the fact that I was doing 45 miles per hour in a Honda 110, of course, you know, it was altered the best you could. And you can adjust the number of teeth on the back and the front and everything, make it to where it's the perfect kind of creature for you. And I had uncles that.
Well, again, though, it was the experience of when you was in the mud, you had to put it neutral, stop, reach underneath, flip that switch to go to low range. Excuse me.
Hey, let me just tell you this.
Bigger, that bigger power. And you would crawl out that mud. Before the Honda Big Red, you had that Honda 110, and that was a workhorse. Truly, it was. And, hey, if you try to buy one today, you will see that in the price.
Oh, yeah,
they do.
I never did put it in low range. You didn't have to for what I was doing. Because, after a while, I learned real quick that mud that had sand in it will mess up your machine. You hear me? It will mess up a chain. It will mess up all the gears. You want to keep it out of that stuff as much as possible.
Oh, yeah. See, that's where it got to be, when you finish your little quote-unquote mud ride, whatever it was, if you didn't take a wash hose to it to rinse that off, the next thing it was going to do that. And you would slowly do that.
And oil it.
Because the Polaris, the old Polaris Grand was an awesome machine. And now, I don't know now because I can't afford one of those, but I still remember is as long as you rinsed the Polaris, because that was the duck hunters ride. Yeah. As long as you kept it rinsed to get that little grip and grind out of those gears and bearings, it would last forever. But it was so expensive. We had to deal with, Hondas and Kawasaki's when we were kids. If you were lucky enough to have one. My opinion.
Well, yeah, I got you. But now let me just tell you this, though. It's like, water is not ever going to be good for a mechanical thing. I don't give a shit. So, there is no good way to ride in mud with them. So what I learned from all of my uncles who had done all that kind of shit before is, with anything mechanical, if you can keep that motherfucker out of the mud, keep it out. Now, if you have to go through that shit to get home, go through it. Unless you want to spend some fucking money. Because I'm going to tell you, fun is like, listen, it's Bill Maher.
Dude, the wind changed direction. I just dropped you.
Hold on. I'm not explaining anything, but we had a little break and we're coming back. And what I was going to say to the end of that conversation right there is that Bill Maher, one of our mutual mentors in some ways, even though he's kind of, he's had a sordid history, but he's a mentor. But he always would say, fun costs ya. So, like, if you're going to go out there, you're going to play with ATVs, you're going to play with horses, you're going to play with women, you're going to play with dice, you're going to play with drink, you're going to play with weed, you're going to play with anything, cocaine, your mama, it's going to cost you, but now you may benefit from it in some way or the other, a great fucking life story, but, I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that, it wasn't worth it or that it was worth it. I'm not judging nothing. It ain't my fucking job. It's not my job to judge. When you get to Jesus, Orange Jesus, whatever kind of Jesus you're going to go to, they can judge you. I'm not going to judge you. That's like people say, why you let your kids, ride a four-wheeler without a helmet? Why do you ride one without a helmet? I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm going 8 miles an hour on some dirt. you know. But now, some people it's very serious. I never did wear one.
They are.
You know, and I probably should, but I just don't know. I hadn't got there yet, man. I'm a little bit. I wear my seatbelt every day. Every time I get in the car, and I use my blinker in my driveway. You know, so I don't know. What do you think?
Oh no! I absolutely always put my seatbelt on. I mean, anybody's in my vehicle, is your seatbelt on? I mean, not just as the quote law, but it gives you that chance. I mean, again though, but now if I had a 4-wheeler or something, we never had that. I mean, I promise you, I've got more wounds from riding a Kawasaki 110 3-wheeler before I ever had a Bayou 110 4-wheeler. I mean, we climbed trees, we chased each other through the woods, we half drowned each other because the 3-wheeler was just semi-unstable.
Hey, let me ask you about that Kawasaki 110. Did it have a clutch?
Okay.
No? Would it have a clutch?
No, it was an automatic. I mean, it was the one just above the Honda 110. I mean, that's where I was going back to the Honda 110, where that was just a utilitarian machine. It had the split switch, and it was just very narrow to go through pine trees and all that kind of stuff. Well, when I got this Kawasaki, it was a Kawasaki 110, and it was still a 3-wheeler, but it was just way bigger. They increased everything. So we would chase each other through the woods, and all kinds of stuff. So now, what else would you like to know? No helmet, nothing now. I mean,
no, that's it. Of course, everybody has, and I've ridden Kawasaki's. I mean, I'd like to say, we'd have them. My dad would get them, we'd toss them, turn them. So we had 200 Kawasaki one time, and it had a clutch. But now, even though it was at the time, and you say automatic, but I mean, you still had to shift. So you had to shift, but there was no clutch involved in it.
Oh yeah. It wasn't like a motorcycle. Yeah, it was just, it was double down for reverse, and then up one, and you get neutral, and then it was all up to about 4th gear, and then you were down one time, and you get to 5th. But we would never get that far. I mean, shoot, we was on the back roads. I mean, we never got that fast. The only times we ever did that was when we just made trips to Moffitt's Bluff. I mean, 3 miles down my road, back that way, all the way to the Burnsides, turn up that road, all on 3-wheelers, carrying a 5-gallon gas can behind you so you could share the gas, have enough to come back.
Well, here's what I do. We had what they were called deer racks. Me and my cousin Kevin Barford both of us had 110 Hondas. And those racks,
the little rack on the back.
Oh yeah, well I'm going to explain it, but it was a rack on the back of this thing, and it had a guard about 6 inches up, and it was it stood out a little bit wider than the 4-wheeler, and it was attached to actually multiple places, but it was attached to the foot pedals, the foot stands, whatever it is, where you put your foot. So it's pretty sturdy. It was attached to the back, and some of them were even attached to the other parts of the frame. So that's the ones that we had. And of course, they had those things would save you from a wreck. So they had a lot of power in these things whenever they were brand new for sure. And you could flip it if you weren't careful, or you could learn how to use that rack to walk a wheelie. And I learned that. Of course, now I have my child. He's got a 90, and the 90 is as strong as that 110 we had was, but now it's a 4-wheeler, so it's a little bit safer. But it's a TRX, so it looks like a racing bike. And that's what I've been doing this afternoon. They were all going, and I was like, well, I asked Ben, I said, can I ride your bike? He said, hell yeah, man. So I said, I need a little bit of wind therapy. And I went here, but remember all those years, man, back when I was a kid, I'd always had stuff like that. If I didn't, my parents did. Sometimes it was theirs, and sometimes it was my grandparents, and sometimes my uncle. All through the years, I've ridden all kinds of bikes from all kinds of people, and just had you take care of them. Now, I was always told, like my Uncle Ronnie, this was the last ones I've ridden, growing up through high school, and he was like, look, people going to tell you all kinds of shit, but if you can get that son of a bitch through the side of the woods over there and avoid that mud hole, do that. Take care of it. Don't fucking dent it up. Just go slow through there. You can go anywhere. You got four-wheel drive. You can go wherever you want to. That's what I tell Ben, too. Same thing.
Absolutely.
And there is a time sometimes when you got to gut it out. And sometimes, you got to, you got your penis to prove, So you got to do some shit sometimes. And Ronnie did it and I did it, too. But I'm going to tell you, the better you take care of your machine, the better off you are. The better maintenance, the better, making sure all your connections are taken care of, some WD-40, some olive oil, whatever you got to do, clean that thing up and keep it clean the best you can. That's my advice, because I'm going to tell you right now, I respect those things. Those things have been a lot of fun for me. And yes, I fucked up on them some, and I learned a lot.
Well, it's an investment, especially when you purchase it. I mean, it's like I see all these high-end vehicles that there's this young kid running around, they're squealing tires, and they got 20 inches and stuff. It's like, you didn't pay for a single bit of that, so you have no respect for it. I've always believed, and again, now, I've purchased all my own vehicles. My parents have never bought me a vehicle. They bought my brother several, but it's because he abused that I've made sure I worked and actually invested in myself and made my own way. I purchased my own vehicles. Now, I don't take as good of care as I should of the things I purchased, but at the same time, I do. There are minor details. And some of that goes back to the OCD of it. Hey, you keep telling me, bring your truck by here. We'll clean it up. And at some point, I will. But it's because
I already have.
Keep my oil change.
I already have. We'll go back to your maintenance in a minute, because that's I like that kind of shit, man. If you're outside of the grid, then you're going to deal with some outside of the grid shit, because most motherfuckers pull up and get it changed. That's what I do. With my personal vehicles, I'm not going to trust myself to do it now, because I'm a fuck up. I'm an old dude, whatever.
But you do that. You vacuum. You are meticulous in how you keep your vehicle.
And I used to do it a lot, Don. I used to tint windows, change oil, install stereo systems. That's how I made my living through college. It's like that's how I paid for my college. I sit there and tint windows, tint vehicles and shit like that. And people loved it whenever they get their vehicles cleaned by me. It was meticulous. There was no fucking dust anywhere. That's what it is. But now it's going to cost you. If you want me to work on it, But anyway, so.
Well, and again, it's the attention to the detail. If you just wanted a quick clean, I can go any place. Or I could do it myself. Shoot, I've cleaned out my truck pretty regular, but now I don't clean out my bed. I don't take the brush to it or anything. But when you decide to clean your vehicle, you clean that sucker. I've seen it. You do a very great job, but it's your vehicle. And that's what the most important point is. It's
mine.
It's yours. You take care of it. And I try to do the same thing to most of my stuff, but I just am not as detail-oriented.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. I will forget. I know lots of people who are like that. In fact, I've actually had my ex-wife got pissed off at me for cleaning the vehicle, because some people just do not like that kind of shit, because it's like they're comfortable in whatever dirt. Okay, I'm okay with it. And let me say this: I have cleaned your vehicle before, maybe once, maybe twice. I can't remember, at least once. But because I like
you had
it because it was so dirty, not dirty, not to a lot of people's standards, but to my standards. Like every week I clean my.
Yes. Now you have went, Donald. I'm supposed to empty your vehicle, and you drove the trash out. You did a little vacuuming thing, just because it drove you nuts. But that's the type of man you are. And I'm the same way. It's just I know
different things.
you are more detail oriented about your stuff than I am.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So and exactly. So I'm not. Again, we're not judging anything. It's just that
Nope.
there's the thing that I was trying to twist with this is like there are different people that do different kinds of things in different kind of places and like maintaining quads. Now my son gets mad at me, and like this other guy that I bought a bike from the other day, his dad was the same way I am. He went and bought this quad, and it's a 250. It's a TRX 250, which is a great bike, man. The thing has plenty of horsepower. It's like, for just rutting around a property. It's called a Recon, but they had adjusted it to where they had taken off a lot of the extra bullshit. So it was just like a 250. It was like a 4-stroke version of a 250R back a long time ago without a clutch.
Yeah.
It's powerful enough bike to do anything you need to do. Okay. Well, anyway, and then, they bought this thing. It was a great bike, and they got it for a really great price, and they carried it to a pond swimming. And his dad, he said, my dad, he said, I really thought he was going to start hitting me for doing it to this bike. And I said, well, I don't blame him. He said, but, it was just about fun. That's all I wanted to do with it. I got it for, $400 or $800, whatever it was, and and the people were filming it, and these girls were there, and, but, that was the price he wanted to pay for it. But now, actually the bike, it didn't really hurt him. They just couldn't crank it because he got done with it. He thought it was gone. But now what I've been doing is just kind of going over it. And, it's kind of like a person in a lot of ways to me. Bikes, trikes, quads, whatever you want to call them, different things. I've worked on all of them. But,
There's a learning curve.
Well,
there's a learning curve with any of it.
Well, there is, but the thing of it is that I don't care what it is. A computer, I'll put it in your terms because I've worked in mechanics my whole life. You have too. You can change motors, but I've done many more than that. And I'm sure you have too. But we're both guys that have turned bolts and installed stuff, uninstalled stuff, diagnosed. But whenever I'm working on something, whenever I go up there to it, it becomes mine. And I'm going to fix, or if you hire me to fix it, I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to look at the knobs on the tires, and I'm going to walk around in circles around that motherfucker for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to analyze everything. I'm going to look at and then I'm going to start tearing the motor apart. I'm going to look at the valves. I'm going to start looking at every fucking thing you can imagine because I want to know what's going on with it. I'm going to listen to it.
You call me in. This is where it goes to is like, you and I have been friends. We know each other. You tell me the problem. But if you actually go, dude, I'm at a wall, and I come in, I'm going to start at step one. I'm going to start dividing the problem. That's just good troubleshooting. You listen to your operator, which would be you as the owner of the equipment. Now I'm going back to an industrial standard because that's what I'm used to. You absolutely always listen to your operator. But then you know more than he does, even though he knows how to run that machine better than I ever could. I know the insides better than probably he does, especially when you start talking that way. So you got to listen to the issue, divide it, and just narrow it down. And then it comes to that point. So you're more meticulous about it and all that kind of thing. And, I've always appreciated that. I mean, it's just you're OCD, no problem. I'm OCD, but in a very different kind of way. My mind works a tiny bit different, but it's also the same, in so many ways, which is why I'm like, well, we're friends. We kind of get each other, even though we don't always agree on everything, which goes back to what is wrong with anybody not listening to anybody else? You still there?
Well, I'm listening to you. That was the thing. I put it on mute where I won't be, trying to butt in. That's what I was doing. Just trying to get things going. And you're right. You have to listen to people, but you also have to come to where they're at sometimes. Sometimes if someone is, sometimes you got to figure out where they're at and not just come in and like trying to, you got to take everything into account. You got to take the person and their environment. It's like organism environment. It's like you don't get a Brad without a fucking Earth man. You know, you don't get a fucking Donald without, you know, a fucking Earth man, you know. So you got to take all those environmental things that go along with all that bullshit into effect. And sometimes we don't know all the background shit, bro. All we know is what we think we know. So then we come into it, and you got to listen some, you know, which is hard for men to do. And that's the whole fucking thing is like, you know, outside of the grid, that's really outside of the fucking grid is listening to other people sometimes and just letting them go. Whoa, I got a bug, man. I'm laying on a pond bank getting attacked by a fucking bug, man.
Oh, you got hit by a bug. Well, I'm glad you wasn't riding a trike, but, you know, I wasn't sure where we wanted this conversation to go, which is why I was just kind of rambling. We started with ATV.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me clarify one thing. You said there was no particular direction. So we got about 30 minutes.
There's never one.
We got about 10 or 15 minutes left to leave these people with something to.
Well, let's do it, man. I mean, again, there's no particular direction. You know, I mean, that is part of outside the grid. Is you let your mind wander. I'm sitting here looking at my pecan tree, my little peanut man. I don't know how many folks know the peanut man. I mean, I don't even see advertisements for that anymore. The guy with the little cane with a monocle, the peanut man. Planters? Was that Planters Peanuts? Yes, Planters Peanuts.
Hey, you know what? Listen, everybody always talks about advertisements, but I'm going to tell you right now, the only kind of media I really consume is on like YouTube, and I don't listen to. I pay YouTube Premium, so I don't fucking listen to advertisements. I hadn't heard advertisements now since 2016. So if you talk about advertising, I'm going to go, ha, 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 yeah. I've never seen it because I don't listen to any other thing. I'm a YouTuber sphere, dude.
Right,
you know,
I mean, let's do a really quick call back to, you sent me a photo of somewhere in South Arkansas that's western of my location, and you were making an advertisement. Now, great area and all that kind of stuff.
Whoa. What advertisement? Which one?
The one in the El Dorado district.
I wasn't thinking no advertisement, though.
Well, I thought it was you was asking folks to, hey, I mean, there's a job fair and stuff. Is that not an advertisement to invite folks to come in and get a job?
Hey, there's a difference in making them and listening to them.
No, I agree with you 100%. Yes.
I don't listen to other people unless they ask for my face. But I'm an old kind of dude, Donald. See, I'm not one of those guys that sits there. If a commercial comes on, and any time since 2005, when I figured out how to download podcasts, I have not listened to commercials. So you got to go way back for me. I have not owned.
Well, that's what I was calling back to, is the old Flanders peanut guy.
Okay, I know, but I want to, let me rant for a fucking minute, man, okay?
Have at it, man.
I've not owned cable TV since 2010. In fact, September of 2010, I let go of I cut myself from the satellite. So since then, I've never paid a satellite payment ever. And I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. Because of the fact that I went pretty much digital. I figured out how to do it. I got all the information I needed from all the sources I needed to stay probably more informed than normal people who are watching TV, and have kept up with it all these years because I don't think it's necessary to have all that noise going on all the time. But now I do appreciate a good commercial, like say in the Super Bowl era. Like right now, if I watch Super Bowl, I want to see that. And I do recall back from the time whenever advertisements were advertisements. But now, to me, every time I experience anything on there, if it's not someone talking to me, which is what exactly kind of advertising I do, and they're not telling me themselves that own shit and do shit, I'm not going to listen to them. I'm not going to watch some, but that's just me. It's my personality. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm 50-something years old. In fact, I just had a birthday. I'm not wanting to hear your advertisements like that. I'm like the Gen Zers. They're not going to listen to this shit either, Most of like my boys are not gonna listen to your advertisements. They'll turn the shit off. You know, a lot of them do because they don't want to hear all that chitter chatter. Come talk to me. You know, we've been locked up forever. Come talk to me. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But now I do look here. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm a very serious person. You're more jocular and jockey and stuff like that than me. I'm more serious, and that's why I keep you around as a friend because you know you're different than me. You know, I'm not that fucking jocular. I mean, I'm very fucking serious. You know, people don't hire me to be funny. They hire me to be fucking serious and look at fucking details and stuff like that. You know, that's. But now I appreciate that. You know, I love it, but it's not
well,
me.
See, and there you go. That's what I mean is you made an advertisement inviting folks to come up there, and it was great and funny. And, you know, again, you know, the picture on the side was where we started this. But, no, you're great in your role. I mean, you have brought in so much money and employment to anybody around this area.
Listen. I don't want to talk about that. I thought we were talking about the condom in the parking lot, so I didn't really know what you were talking about with the advertisement. But now,
oh no! Well, I said the condom in the parking lot just because you know that was a picture sent on the side channel. You know, I just laughed because I could tell you took that picture and sent it to me from where you were. but honestly, Don, you kind of had me confused because I didn't do an advertisement today. So I didn't do a video today. So that's why I was kind of confused. The only thing I did today was a condom photo. So that's why I was okay. Well, yeah. Then maybe that's my bad. Truly, I mean, it was just the Facebook thing of like, where am I at? You know, and yeah.
That was personal page, you know. So I mean, I wouldn't. That's why I was confused. That's why I want to clarify, man. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, bro. Hey, good. I promise.
Listen. I listen to conversations every day where people and they just brush it off, and they, you know, something happens like a conversation mishap, and they just brush it off, and they go home and they go, "What that motherfucker say to me?" I'm not fucking playing that game with anybody. You're going to fucking understand what I say to you, and if you act like you don't. You're going to fucking understand me. That's the kind of person I am. Whenever you talk about detail-oriented shit, of course, you know, whenever you can't hear me, it's like you know, sometimes I'm, you know, a little bit more jocular, but I don't like leaving shit undone. I was raised by mostly by, if you talk about a man that raised me, was my Uncle Ronnie. Meticulous as fuck. I've been thinking about that lately. I've been thinking about my roots and where it came from. We didn't leave a job any day, and I worked for him for years, from the time I was 13. In fact, when I was 14 years old, I was working inside the paper mill. At the time, you were supposed to be 18 to even walk inside of it. But I was back there with a brick mason building fucking what turned out to be supervisors' offices and computer rooms later on. Those brick buildings out there and all those mills out there. Me and Ronnie built those things. I scaffolded those bitches up. Carry fucking mortar to the top of all that shit. Sometimes with a rope and a fucking bucket, and sometimes just crawling up the side of it. You know, so I help build all of it. Anytime you see a block building inside of that paper mill that was put there, you know, between 85 and 1990, I put that shit there. There's a lot of it. I get out of school and I go there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
go there in summers. You know, and I guarantee you, see, we're out there in a mill environment like that right there. The reason why we were able to come back and make more money, which paid for all of my vehicles. My parents never bought a fucking thing for me like that. I paid for my insurance because I had a stepdad. Stepdad didn't pay for shit like that. You know, they'll help you all they can, but I worked my ass off and paid for all that shit with my Uncle Ronnie.
But I know, and that's where we kind of did a lot of the things that were the same. Is, you know, regardless of, you know, you were a single child, I had an older brother, but no, I worked. Yeah. We did tomato fields. I still remember the time where you got a little bit older and you were, you know, way more with your Uncle Ronnie, and he worked you like a dog, but you were better for it. And in the end, you were better for it. You know, I mean, you know, now that's just me, in my opinion, as part of life. It was a hard time. It was a rough time. And but we overcame, and look at you now. Look at the place you got. Look how successful you are for that. You know, I mean, we don't whine and cry about it, while a lot of the other ones do. But now, yeah, I'm still a big believer in, you know, whip a damn kid in front of every damn body and embarrass the shit out of that motherfucker. But you can't do that these days. You know, it's like...
Me and Ronnie never did fight like that. But one time, I threatened him in front of a lot of people because I done got tough. I said, hell, man, I've been carrying as many britches you have. I could take your ass out. He said, you can. He said, get you some. And he said, I'm going to feed you this ham. You try it. So I kind of jumped at him a little bit, and he grabbed a piece of ham and rubbed it on my face, on my mouth. He said, you still want to eat this ham? And I said, no, sir. And that was it.
Again, that's all it takes is you get a little too big for your britches, and then somebody puts you in your place. And that don't mean you're less of a man. It just means, you know, okay, I've just got too big for my damn britches. You know?
Got too big for my, because I grabbed a hold of a motherfucker that's grabbed a whole lot more bricks than me. You hear me? You know?
And there you go. I still remember the day my daddy was like, you know what, son, you're going to stop doing this. You're going to do this. And if you want some of it, get it. And I went, no, sir. Surely, that was it. You know, I mean, you don't know, that man, the next day, we were friends. We still talked. He still taught me many, many, many things. But that one point, he put me in my place, the pecking order of the family. You know what I'm trying to say there. You know, and hey, I know your stepdad, and while, hey, I like that man, okay? Yeah. You know? Your Uncle Ronnie, that was a man's man. That was like a man after my father. And your daddy was a man's man. He may be a little eccentric like you are, and again, that's all it is. It's just different people. I love both of y'all, you know. So, yeah, it's kind of where that kind of goes, is like everybody has their little different quirks and feelings and thoughts. But at the end of the day, it's like, did you do your best? I mean, were you the best person you could be? If not, then make that change.
Let's talk about the genetics for a minute, because this is always so interesting. Because I'm a dude, okay, because I can think about things from a matriarchal point of view, and I can think about things from a patriarchal point of view. I can think both ways because I've been, you know, in situation with men and women both, on both sides of the family. They're very powerful, that have a legacy. And the reality of it is, it's both that you need. You know, that's both that's there. There'd be no Brad without a mom and a dad, okay? And both of them have powerful legacies on both sides, and both of them are powerful people, you know. In their own way, they can affect people and do things, just like your people can and did. And the thing of it is, it's so weird because, you know, we're just these, you know, folks out here in the middle of, you know, the woods. You know, we're not anything in particular, but, you know, there's, in our world, you know, we're good people. You know, we move on our own land, and we can't even understand, you know, living in a fucking apartment. You know, I tried to once or twice when I was in college and graduate school and shit. It's like, you know, there's not a lot of property for me to walk around with no people there to fuck around. You know, I mean, ain't no, where can I go to chill the fuck out? You know what I'm saying? I gotta go out there and sit on I gotta go out there, lean against a tree and stare a hole in a leaf. You know, that's my way to relax.
The dueling banjos. I'm with you 100%. Is,
hey man,
I've never been able to deal with urban life. I've got to have a little bit of room where I can just do exactly what I'm doing. I'm at my back door. The front door is locked. I'm watching my little bit of land and just enjoying the breeze, talking to a friend. I ain't listening to somebody next door, and I just don't want to deal with that. I am a rural person. I prefer my space. And see, that's where you're at. You've got your space. The kids are busy and your life is busy, but at the same time, you have a place to come home to go, y'all leave me alone for just a little bit. And you can walk away because you have the room to do that. That is what's so nice. To me, anyway. But now, is that what you was trying to say? I mean, because now, I know what you're doing.
Yes, let me tell you about this.
Go ahead.
The whole point of where I'm going with everything my brain has been thinking about lately is that I somehow got a hold of one of those songs by Schoolhouse Rock the other day. And this is shit we grew up with every fucking Saturday morning, like after a certain period. But one of those songs, like, I'm just up, Bill, up on... But the one that really stood out for me is the one that talked about elbow room. Elbow room, elbow room. Everybody needs a little elbow room. You remember that one?
I remember that. I mean, hey, before cartoons were everywhere, we would wake up on Saturday mornings, and if you was like where we were, we only had like 3 channels. You turn it on, and you had to, boo, either the crosshair thing or the little bands, pick your channel. And Rocky and Bullwinkle came on. And then, you had the educational ones. I'm just a Bill, and the elbow room, and the conjunction junction, and the what's your fun? Hey, we had all of those. Then you had a couple Scooby-Doos and some Tom and Jerry's. And then it wasn't, but much later, at about 11, you end up with the sighting movies. The movies that was like, Hang 'em High. And, old Clint Eastwood. And they go, we're going to interrupt your movie to tell you about vinyl siding. That was our life growing up. If we was in the house, that's what we saw on Saturdays. Any other time, it was like, you get out there, it's like, I'm thirsty. Drink out of the water hose.
I was going to say, by about 8 o'clock, 8:30, my ass was outside, unless it was brutally fucking cold. Then you better go out there with your papa by the fire. And then he's like, well, hey, I can't go out there. I got clothes. Well, here, wear my coat. Get your ass out the house. Go fuck with those men. Leave me alone. I've been doing this all week.
Yeah, I mean, there was spring and winter choices, but I still remember coming home again. Now, going back to those ATVs, the Kawasaki 110s, I still remember coming home and my dang coveralls were froze like a wing because we were out there in sub-zero temperatures. Those breeches were hung back, and we had wings on our legs covered with ice. You'd walk in the house and go, you take those clothes off before you come in this house.
Yes, and like your...
But now, again, we're talking freaking 40 years ago, man. Oh, jeez.
I mean, you really are talking about 3. I mean, that's like in those years is when I had 3-wheeler. It was 82 and 83.
Yeah.
Exactly
right. I mean, because that's what we did. We had wrecks. We did bad things. But that was the end.
My dad sold one of my second 110 because he pulled up on me jumping off a 9-foot hill in a gravel pit. He said, well, this is time for this, no longer to be yours. I was like, okay. I knew it was coming, So after that, people put me on horses and cars and shit, so. But anyway.
Horses and cars. Now, wait a minute now. I still remember my best friend. You had that white Mitsubishi and stuff. And I had come back from, I guess, I think what it was I met my dad's real daddy for the first time. I mean, we were 14, 15, somewhere like that, and you would have an Akron deputy. And I got home, and my mom brought me over to drive your truck to you at the hospital just so I could see you. And brought you a six-pack or something like that. And I still remember helping you do that bad, and you were like, oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah, man, you had just turned 16, you know, like
Yeah, I mean, I was right there at that point of I had my license, but not. And I had been on vacation, and which is when your appendix ruptured. And you just like, oh, tell Tom to drive my truck. I did. I remember driving your 5-shift Mitsubishi white truck all the way to Monticello, that hospital.
But now, how was that though, man? I mean, you're like that truck had been through shit. I got rid of it. Right
dude, it didn't matter. I mean, you know, hey,
but,
I knew how to do it.
Was that after they put the engine in it and the rear ends and all that kind of stuff in, or was that?
That was
the lower.
Yeah, we had already changed the transmission and stuff, and because I still remember you had put too big of those T120s on there. They barely would squeeze onto the damn rims.
Yeah.
Remember them T120s? And those sidewalls were squeezed onto their.
Hey, those were like 12-inch tires put on a 6-inch.
They were. I think they were 10s because
like
I think you had like 6s. And, yeah, they had to squeeze those. I ran 12s, which is one of that old 77 Ford I had. It was called the 12-inch something, whatever. I mean, it wasn't on my dick, but it was implying. But, yeah, I ran 12s all the way around. I think those were 10s, pretty sure. But no, yeah, they were supposed to be like 6s, so that's why they looked like they did.
It's a wide footprint, and that thing rode so smooth, man. It went from riding
it did.
Now
I still remember, hey, again, I'm pretty sure it's after we changed everything because I don't remember any carpet or anything in it. It was just a bench seat, and I was sitting there and I was working those gears and said, okay, well, that worked just good. But, yeah, I just still remember bare floors, I think. Something like that.
Well, I was in the middle of what happened. I had to go into the hospital. That's
what I mean. It's like I was on vacation.
And it was when's your birthday? And see, it was
July 12th. I mean, it was around that time.
It was right before.
Right.
It was right around July the 4th because July 4th.
It was something really close to that. I was on family vacation. We were way up north, and we came back. And your mom contacted mine and told me that Brad wants to see Donald. He can drive his truck. I mean, that was what was so great. It was really like, if you just bring over and say, he can drive him up there. I mean, he can drive his own truck. I mean, and I still remember that. It's like, hot damn, my friend trusts me.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I remember because it was July 4th, and I went down to G's Landing, okay?
Something like that.
That's exactly what happened. But now I've been in the hospital for a week when I called you, so we can figure out that date. But it was July the 4th, and I went down there, and I was drunk and a motherfucker. I went by and I bought like 4 half pints because I was during the summer. I was working, had what I thought was extra money. I'd given the biggest load of it to my checking account, savings account, and I had some money left. I went and bought me 4 of those half pints, and I got fucking obliterated down there at G's Landing. And I was trying to drive away, and I got down there just a few feet, and half a mile or so, and I started throwing up. And I could not quit throwing up. And I was like, I had to make an excuse when I got home as to why I wasn't. I didn't get home on time. I said, man, I don't know. I've been sick as fuck. I've been throwing up and shit like that. So they carried me in there, and that motherfucker performed a surgery on me. It was his first ever appendectomy. The doctor that performed it on me. So, like, I mean, I don't think I had any kind of an appendectomy problem. What I had was too much fucking liquor in a short period of time. And I was throwing up, and I was just trying to make an excuse. But these motherfuckers cut my ass open, motherfucker. You hear me? I was in the hospital for 2 weeks after that shit, bro.
Well, you know, no, going back to exactly that. I mean, I've had the appendectomy, and mine was in my second grade year. I mean, you know, and it was horrible. I had so many problems around the time, you know, missed my comb and stuff. It was our second grade teacher. Eye problems. I still got some cards from everybody in the classroom. You know? But, you know, I understand what you're saying there. But, yeah, regardless of what he did or not, like with mine, of course, it was a 2-week thing. Yours, well, now mine was way longer, but now mine had complications. But now, just going back to the 2-week thing there, you was in there for a week before I got back because, well, that was when I was gone. I got back and it was like, holy shit, my buddy's in the hospital. You know, but nowadays, that is a outpatient thing. That is something they go in.
I don't know if you can
hear. You know, and you're right back out.
You can't hear me at all, can you? Not
I can hear you.
You can now. I've been talking to you.
I can now. Sorry.
But no. I'm not mad at you. It's technology on the because it does not break in at all. I mean, it does not allow me to say anything, whatever it is. But anyway, so was you? See, it's so fucking frustrating. I forget what I was going to fucking say. You know, because it's just this technology is bugging. We know what we're going to do. We're going to start doing StreamYard. We're going to start doing that. We're going to start doing live shows, and this is
we can start doing that. I mean, you know, but now the 2-week thing. I mean, was it? I can hear you.
You can now after I've already fucking lost it. You know, we're going to start doing those. We're going to start doing live shows for everybody. Just fucking get Donald live. Out. Love you, bro.
I can't hear you.
Love you, bro. I'm out.
All right, brother. Have a good night. Dude, the wind changed direction. I just dropped you.
Hold on.